In today's Take of the Day, I want to talk about Marcus Smart and the real truth behind the comments Marcus Smart made about Kawhi Leonard. And before we get into that, please like, subscribe, also hit the notification bell so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. We put content out every day, so you won't miss any content here. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Now, Marcus Smart is one of those players in the league that a lot of people know. They're definitely a household name, definitely a guy that a lot of people understand in regards to what he's all about when he's on the court. And he is a defensive prowess, and he might be one of the most underrated defensive players in the NBA because he is, I look at him damn near as a lockdown defender. I really do. I look at him as one of them defenders where he's going to make one or two plays in a game where it can alter the game and change it in regards to his team's favor. So there's other plays in the games that he does make as well defensively that are big, but it's just always one or two plays in a game where he always makes big plays that can help the Celtics put him in position to win anyway. And I think he's definitely an adequate, type player in the NBA that a lot of teams would love to have, especially if they're on a quest for a championship. Now, the comments that he made about Kawhi Leonard, just in regards to who Kawhi is, in regards to how strong Kawhi is and everything like that, and how Kawhi goes about his business, he made the comment that Kawhi is the most unguardable player in the NBA. And he made those comments, and I can't say I disagree with those comments because Marcus Smart goes in and talks about how strong Kawhi is, like I said, and how he uses his strength to his advantage in certain areas of the floor, how he gets to his spots no matter if you beat him to it or not, and the fact that he's evolved his game so much from the beginning to where he is now. It's really unreal how much he's really, evolved his game to this level, to this another level, where it is now in his career from where he started. Because a lot of people didn't see Kawhi Leonard turning out this way. They thought he would be almost like a Marcus Smart, knock down a shot here and there, knock down a big three here and there, and play hella defense. Because that's basically who Marcus Smart is. But Kawhi took it up a couple levels. He actually turned himself into a 25, 30-point scorer per game. And now he's averaging 4 or 5 assists a game, which he wasn't averaging that before. And, his shooting percentage just seems to, stay pretty steady or go up, a few points every year, seem like. And it just seems like he's adding to his game more and more and more. And it seems like he's not stopping. So when you add those things in there, I can definitely see what Marcus Smart is, where he's trying to get at in his comments. And I definitely believe Marcus Smart is right, because when you looked at this past season in the playoffs, Kawhi was unguardable. And he's pretty much always been unguardable to me, because when you look at his game, it doesn't matter if you're faster than he is. He still can get to his spots and pull up for his mid-range and kill you. He's really a deadly three-point shooter. Even though Kawhi really doesn't look like he's a three-point shooter, but he's a really good three-point shooter. He doesn't strike you as a Stephen Curry or, a Dame Lillard or somebody like that from three-point range, all that type stuff. Well, maybe not Dame Lillard, but maybe a Klay Thompson or somebody like that. But Kawhi Leonard can really shoot threes really well. And he is a high percentage shooter, and he's a high percentage shooter on the floor pretty much at all times. He doesn't take shots that are ill-advised. He takes shots that he know he can make and take and shoot with a high percentage. And that's why I think Kawhi Leonard separates himself from a lot of other players in the NBA, because he plays within his means. Now, in the playoffs, I see him play outside of his means, but it always works in his favor. And what I mean by that is he turns it up a notch in the playoffs. He doesn't just do a lot of the regular things he does in the regular season. He kind of turns it up more, where he's posterizing people, getting his signature move in there, 99% of the time, making the defense work and going on the other end and dominating as well whenever he needs to. And those are the type things that I've been saying about Kawhi Leonard that's made him the best player in the league to me. And funny that I mentioned that. The real truth behind what Marcus Smart is really saying about Kawhi Leonard, he's really trying to say Kawhi Leonard's the best player in the league. If you think about it, he's secretly saying, in my viewpoint, he's basically secretly saying that Kawhi Leonard's the best player in the league. When you say a player is unguardable, the most unguardable player in the league, you're looking at him in a stature like of LeBron James or Kevin Durant. Because when we talk about Kevin Durant, LeBron James, we talk about how great they were. We always talk about, well, especially LeBron James, we talk about how great he was in the past, where he was pretty much unguardable. He could do anything he wanted offensively. Nobody could stop him, and he controlled the game at his own pace. Same thing they say about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is unguardable. You can't stick with Kevin Durant. You can't, come at Kevin Durant with any defense that he hasn't seen, because his offense is going to override it. This is what I'm talking about. When you talk about a player being the most unguardable in the NBA, you're basically looking at him as the best player in the NBA, because the best player in the NBA is the most unguardable player. When they talked about Kobe back in the day, RIP Kobe and Jordan and other players like that, I mean, the reason why they were looked at as the best, because they were unguardable. You couldn't do nothing with them. They were looked at as the best because there was nothing you can do to them with your defensive prowess that would bother them. They still would get their 30 points a game. They still would embarrass you, and they still would shoot a pretty decent percentage, 90% of the time. So it's like, when you say a player is really unguardable in today's game, he needs to be looked at as the best player. Now, maybe 10, 15 years ago, it might have been different, because to me, 10, 15 years ago, Shaq was probably the most unguardable player, but he wasn't the best player in the NBA, or a lot of people didn't look at him as the best player in the NBA because he was just so big and powerful. But when you look at today's game and the way the game is played today, and you look at Kawhi Leonard, he's not a center. He's not as big as Shaq. He's not just all weight and, bigger than everybody else, being a bully. He's just skilled. He does have strength. Kawhi Leonard has a lot of strength, but what a lot of people will have to realize, Kawhi Leonard is just a skilled player. And he always has been, ever since he's, took the notion and the time to develop his game. He's always shown that his skill, his footwork, and his balance, and how he goes about his business on the floor is different than a lot of other players, because he gets it done in his own way. But he's very, very effective. And he believes in being, very effective at a high percentage, at a high rate, and he loves to win. He is a winner in this league. So you have to give him credit there. But to me, if you ask me, that is definitely Marcus Smart saying that Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the league secretly. But, him coming out saying that, maybe that's not the direction he wanted to take, because maybe he didn't want no, drift back or, get back in regards to that. Because, when you make statements like that, the media is always going to try to, throw things in there. So I can kind of see where maybe Marcus Smart didn't want to, say too much. But that's just my theory. I definitely believe that he thinks Kawhi Leonard probably is the best player in the league if he's the most unguardable. Because, like I said, there's really no other way to look at it. In today's game, the most unguardable player, more than likely, with the skill of a Kawhi Leonard being a top 3 player in the league, you got to look at him as the best player in the league. You got to. Because, like I said, what he can do on both ends of the floor is unlike anybody else. LeBron can't play both ends of the floor the way he used to. LeBron is older. KD never could play both ends of the floor. He plays good defense at times, but he's not a Kawhi Leonard on defense, that's for sure. Because if he was, then he would have beat Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. Because even though he lost Kyrie and basically had a half of James Harden, that's still good enough to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. I think he had a game 7 in his house and lost. So, he can't be that unguardable. KD is a monster, but at the same time, you got to win a series like that. You can't, a lot of people are not saying nothing about KD losing that series against the Milwaukee Bucks, but you lost. It was 1-on-1, you and Giannis. It wasn't no Kyrie. James Harden really was a non-factor. But if you're the best player in the world, as Skip Bayless says, you have to be able to deliver in a situation like that. And that's you versus Giannis, game 7 in your house, and you lose. Well, to me, that's not the best player in the world. That's just my opinion. The best player in the world, to me, got injured against the Utah Jazz. Because honestly, the way Kawhi was playing, shooting over 57%, close to 60% from the field, 30 points a game, it was unreal what Kawhi Leonard was doing. Kawhi Leonard was killing everybody in his path. It's just the Clippers had some mishaps, and they overcame all the games they were down 0-2, all the series they were down 0-2, mainly because of him, and I'll say Reggie Jackson too. And you could put Paul George in there as well, but this is what I'm saying. No, when you say a player is the most unguardable, I just look at it like, hey, in today's game, he's got to be the best player in the league. And I know that could be biased. That's just my opinion, how I see it. But I've always looked at Kawhi Leonard as the best player because there's two sides to basketball, offense and defense. If you're the best two-way player in the league, to me, you're the best player in the league because you can go from one end of the floor to the other end and make just as big as an impact as you can on the offensive end. And that's what Kawhi Leonard is able to do. I mean, look at the Dallas series. Shouldn't they have lost the Dallas series in most people's eyes? Yeah, the Clippers probably should have, but they have Kawhi Leonard and Dallas didn't. They had somebody who could play both sides of the floor, not just one. And that's Luka's issue. Luka's really good offensively, but defensively, he is very much so a liability, and he's very much so the person you don't want to have on your defensive end of the floor because he's not going to stop anything. And that's the reason, that's what makes Kawhi a lot different than a lot of other players. And that's what makes him the most unguardable because not only, like I said, his offense has evolved to a point where he has mastered the mid-range and he is a deadly three-point shooter. And you don't want to put him on the free throw line because he's close to 90% there as well. So it's like, it's really not nothing he can't do. And now that he's getting 4 or 5 assists a game, well, now his game is really evolving into something else. And then, like I said, you add his defense on the other end of him guarding your team's best player. To me, he's not only the most unguardable, but he's the best player in the league, if you ask me. Now, hopefully, what I expect from him coming back from this injury, I expect Kawhi Leonard to come back and be himself. I really hope he does. They say the surgery wasn't that big. It was more or less minor than major, which is good. I really hope he comes back and helps his team make a run, because the Clippers are, to me, they're one of those teams that are in position now to do a lot, but they definitely need their best player to do so. But hey, that's my take on the situation here. And leave any comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think about, Marcus Smart's comments. Do you believe they're right? Do you believe that he's trying to say Kawhi is the best player in the league, secretly? Or let me know what you think in the comment section. We can talk about it as always. You heard my opinion, so now I want yours. And hey, Cali out.